Welcome to the Health and Healing from the Inside Out podcast with Stephanie A. Wynn, an online health and wellness podcast where I, your host, will provide weekly wellness tips about inflammatory bowel disease, specifically Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. The Health and Healing from the Inside Out podcast is a mixture of special guest interviews from healthcare professionals, IBD survivors, Crohn's survivors, ulcerative colitis survivors, and community thought leaders. Be sure to select the subscribe button and let's start the health and healing process from the inside out. We are back for another episode of the Health and Healing Podcast. I am your host, Stephanie A. Wynn, and we are super excited because, listen, I told you all we are having community guests in the community, in the IBD community, come on our show and just share their stories. Listen, sharing is caring, and we have to help one another. We have to advocate for one another. So I'm super excited to have the sweetest person. Oh my gosh, she is such a sweetheart. I mean, from the very first time we met each other, we just shared the same things. And, you know, she was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And it was like seeing someone that shared the same thing, that shared the same challenges, if you will. It was almost like an epiphany, like God was saying, I'm giving you hope to keep going. Like, you're not in this alone. You don't have to fight this alone. Our goal here at the Health and Healing Podcast is really to truly give you all just a story in the background regarding the underserved community and how our IBD community is suffering in silence. And we don't have to do that. And so our goal is to really, really help amplify our voices, one, and two, know that there is a community, that there is hope, and we're all in this together, and we don't have to go this alone. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest, is Danielle Anderson. Let me tell y'all something. She is amazing. She's a model. She's a mom. She is an IBD warrior. Let me tell you, and she fight every day. We met, like I said, we were out here advocating. We had a bowl-a-thon. We had partnered with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, and Danielle showed up to the bowl-a-thon. And since then, we have been connected. I mean, she is doing her thing. She doesn't let this condition define who she is. And that's what I want our guests to understand. You don't have to let this thing define who you are or validate who you are, right? She's from Queens, but she grew up in St. Pete. Her family originates from the Caribbean. And so I met her mom. Her mom is such a sweetheart. And listen, we are super excited to have Danielle in the building today. So Danielle, Danny, as they call her, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited, super honored. So thank you.
Yes, welcome. So we're going to jump right into it. So as I stated before, Danielle, she experienced some of the same things that I experienced with inflammatory bowel disease. So the first question we have for you, Danielle, is, can you walk us through the initial symptoms that led you to your IBD diagnosis?
For sure. Absolutely. So I would say the initial scares, I would say, because I think symptoms, everybody has symptoms of, when your stomach isn't feeling the best, when your gastro ain't feeling the best, you don't feel the best. And I feel like a lot of us don't know, though, that your gastrointestinal health takes about 70% of your overall health. So that's just a little tidbit of, if your tummy ain't right, it's okay if you're just not feeling it today. So I've always had stomach issues, but I thought that was just, a part of growing up, a part of being a woman, whatever the case may be. However, the true first scare was when I was in college. I got the flu, and I lost 10 pounds within 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, something's wrong. Like, this isn't, and the pain that came along with not, just using the restroom, but just the everyday, the pain. It was almost like I'm cramping, but I'm not, and I'm just gonna chuck it to that, or it. So that first 10 pounds, when that was gone within, yeah, it was a week and a half. Honestly, it wasn't even a full 2 weeks. That's when I knew, okay, there's something wrong here.
That is amazing. I mean, yeah, and see, that's same with me. Like, I started losing weight, but I everybody else could see it, but I didn't see it until one day I walked by my mirror and I looked like a skeleton. Like, I went from 180 pounds, I'm down to 112. Quick.
And it's so crazy you say that, because I couldn't keep weight. After that, it was like keeping weight now was absolute no. And of course, we don't see it on ourselves. And then you really look in the mirror and you're like, wait a minute. Something this don't look too right. Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll make you look into it.
So this is going to lead us into the second question. Have you had to adjust your career or educational goals due to IBD?
Oh, absolutely. Funny enough, that was my first year in college. I didn't get diagnosed. I was about 18 at the time. I didn't get diagnosed till I was 22. So I ended up going to school till my junior year, and I wasn't doing the best at all because there was so many testing and so much labs and trying to figure out what is what and what can we, eliminate and what do we think it might be. Um, so it got to a point where I had to stop school. I left within the first semester of my junior year because it was like, yeah, it got to be too much on my not only physical but mental. I couldn't hang out. You know what I mean? It's college. I couldn't be out and about and actually enjoy my college life um, without being terrified of, am I gonna, well, now I know it's a flare up, but back then I had no idea what's gonna happen with my body. Is this supposed to happen with everybody? Why isn't it happening with everyone? So, yeah, college was a halt for me. And of course, with working, even that, I had to, change jobs and not do jobs that were too rigorous and, would ask for too much physical work. But it's crazy. Funny enough, life don't stop. Even with IBD, life does not stop. So it was just working around it. And then it wasn't until I knew what Crohn's disease is and having it and what that means and what it all entails is when I was like, okay, now we can make the proper adjustments for living with it.
So that leads me to my next question is, did you face any challenges navigating through the health care system with going through this journey?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, being a younger Black woman, not knowing how to advocate for myself correctly, I will say a lot of the things that I went through within the healthcare system could have been either halted, shouldn't have happened, um, or, could have had a major adjustment. Um, I, for one, am now 30. I've been living with this for about 10 years. Um, and if I knew the knowledge that I knew then when I first got diagnosed, I feel like I wouldn't be a guinea pig. I definitely felt like a guinea pig um, in that, learning about what Crohn's disease is and how do we treat it and all that. But, now it's, you have your own discernment, and not to say I don't follow the healthcare system. I do, but of course, I take it with a grain of salt because Crohn's disease is very changing. And like, it is it's an illness that looks different in everyone. And though we may have similar symptoms, the way that it affects us is totally different. So yeah, there's been some bumps in the road with the healthcare system, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Absolutely. And just to I want to just piggyback off of what you were saying is that this journey has been like going through the healthcare system, multiple doctors before getting to the correct diagnosis. Like I feel like the same with you. I was diagnosed in 2017. Well, 2017 is when I started having these symptoms. And then but I went through 6 different doctors to get to the right doctor to get me the actual diagnosis. And so in between that time, so much is happening. Like you said, Crohn's is always changing. You don't know from 1 month, 1 day, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 second of the day what's going to happen. So my goal is to really, really help our community. Let's get it right the first time. Let's get this right the first time. We shouldn't have to go through all of these multiple doctors to get to the right diagnosis. What advice would you have for someone who has just received an IBD diagnosis, whether it's Crohn's or ulcerative colitis? What advice would you give them, knowing what you know now?
So much advice. I feel like one of the first things that I would say is take your time. Take your time with this. And with taking your time, give yourself grace, because Crohn's disease, it's a chronic illness. A lot of people don't understand that with chronic illnesses, of course, miracles happen. I am a firm believer in miracles. I believe in God. I believe in that thing. But I also believe in reality. And I also believe in the fact that when you're living in it, it does not look like, it's not like how the outside looking in. So take your time, give yourself grace. Know that you know your body. That's number one. I feel like when we are diagnosed, of course, your world changes. It's like everything shatters. Everything is completely out of whack because everything that I once knew is not going to be the same. However, what you know about you is, what you know about you. And of course, you'll grow with it. You'll grow with learning, okay, what does this Crohn's or colitis monster not like? What do they like? I think of it, weird analogy, but I love to think of my body as Beauty and the Beast. I do. I love to think
Yes.
that Belle, she was living with a beast. She did it with no problem. She fed him porridge. She had him dancing. You know what I mean? Got him dressed up.
Yes.
Living with IBD, absolutely. It can be the same. Absolutely. But you gotta take your time. You gotta give yourself grace. Your mindset has to be like, yes, I'm living with this beast. I'm probably going to live with this beast for the rest or the majority of my life. But when I tell you we are going to figure this out. We can and we will figure this out. It's that simple. So that's my advice for anyone newly diagnosed is, you have to take your time. You have to give yourself grace, and you have to know that you know you, and you're going to be great.
So Danielle, with answering that question, and that was really good. She said, guys, give yourself grace. Give yourself some grace. Take your time. Don't rush to, oh, I gotta find, like, because I know I was there. I need to find out what's going on. What is this? And no, just take your time, breathe, meditate if you need to, breathe in and breathe out, go outside, like get some fresh. Sometimes you have to get some fresh air because, like Danielle said, when she used that analogy, and that's the perfect analogy. I call it the mother, right? It's a mother like no other, right? And so, but when you said Beauty and the Beast, yes, because guess what? We have to get together, we have to dress up, even though this beast is roaring on the inside. And he can roar sometimes. You know what I mean? We still have to dress up. We still have to show up, even when we don't feel like showing up, even when we're glued to the pot 5 to 10 times a day. So I'm saying that to say, like, give yourself grace, love on yourself, know your body, get so in tune with your body that you know for a fact, like, I know if I eat that, I'm not going to be well. Right. And if you eat something that you know you're not supposed to eat, still give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. You just know the consequences. If I eat this, I know I'm going to be in the bathroom tomorrow all day. Right. So this leads us to our next question, or our final thought question for this episode. So Danielle, can you leave the audience with something inspirational, motivational, and how can they follow you?
Y'all don't cancel me for this, but I'm a piggyback off somebody. I'm gonna piggyback off of DC Young Fly. And I was actually listening to him, funny enough, sis, last night. So this is why it's so fresh and it's so like, I think this could be used perfectly, is especially for all my IBD warriors. And those who are battling any other chronic illness, whether it be physical, mental, those we can see and those we can't see, is the book of Job. Even if you're not a religious person, you're not a biblical person, I advise you to read it. Just the book of Job. Because Job was the greatest. I mean, he was the sweetest, nicest guy. But Job's life, honey, Job went through it and he lost everything. Everything. And Job's question was why? Why? I'm doing everything right. Everything is getting done right. I am a great person. I'm not out here, just not doing good things. I'm good. But nothing is good for me. Why? And of course, God's question was, why not? Stop playing in my face. Why not? Why are you asking me why? How about you live in your purpose? How about you continue to be that good person? How about you just do this to do and know that it will come for you? The stuff that you're trying to hold on to might not really be it. That stuff that you're trying to, hey, this is good. This looks good now. This feels good now. That's not yours. I got something better. And even though it might be rocky, you might be losing things. You might be losing your mind. Know that you're going to make it. You keep doing good. You keep on your path. You keep knowing you. You take your time. You give yourself grace. You get right. You meditate, like sis said. You pray. You do whatever you have to do to center yourself. It's going to work out. That's your purpose. It's going to happen. It's written. You're good. Everyone, just read the book of Job. Just read it.
This is
something.
Good. This is good.
It's something, you know what I mean?
And one of the things you didn't say, I'm going to tell the people, because you were told that you wouldn't be able to have a baby. And you have a beautiful baby girl. Look at God.
Listen, when I tell you one of the testimonies, sis, yes, I was told after I got off of Remicade, and really when I got off of tacrolimus, because it is an immunosuppressive drug, that I wouldn't have a child or it would be very high risk. When I tell y'all, And my beautiful girl is about to be 2 years old. And not only that, honey, the weight that I've gained when I was pregnant, I was eating, I was in remission. I mean, it was one of the most joyous 9 months. And just joyous, glowy, felt good. Body was gaining weight. Everything was good. And then I delivered this child naturally. Come on now.
Come on now. That's a blessing. That is a blessing. So listen, Danielle, this has been a really good interview, and you got to come back. You definitely got to come back. And one of the things that we always like to do here on the Health and Healing is, always empower our IBD community to be great, to do what they need to do, to stay focused. Like you said, whatever you got to do to center yourself. You gave a scripture, read the book of Job, and we just going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing and we're going to have grace. But I want to thank you, Danielle, for coming on. Are you on social media?
I am. Y'all can follow me on Instagram, Danny's_Grammy, DANIES_GRAMMY. You can also, add me as a friend on Facebook. I'm on Facebook too, Danielle Taisha Anderson. I'm really more so on Instagram. I do my photo shoots there. I do a lot of rant times where I just give some, motivational whatevers, blurbs of the day. So yeah, I would love to make new connections and can't wait to come back on the show too, sis. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and until next time, we thank you for tuning in on this episode. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Health and Healing from the Inside Out podcast, an online health and wellness podcast where I, your host, Stephanie A. Nguyen, will provide weekly wellness tips about inflammatory bowel disease, specifically Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Be sure to select the subscribe button and let's start the health and healing process from the inside out.